Hello, good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News coming to you live from the Newsfirst Centre in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Florine Rajendran. Here's a look at tonight's headlines.
All preparations made ahead of the UVA PC polls. No police bail for those who violate election laws. Suspecting connection to the murder of a child in Meemana dead. Big onion farmers in Anuradhapura inconvenienced after a plunge in onion prices. Scotland votes no to independence.
Well, first up on the news tonight, we cross over to Newsfirst Madhushka Balasuriya at the election headquarters for the latest on the UVA Provincial Council polls.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. Tomorrow is D-Day for the people of the UVA province as they head to the polls to elect the new provincial council. From today, political parties and independent groups contesting the election will only be able to have one campaign office in operation. While the police have been informed of the regulation, election officials have been deployed to the province for monitoring purposes.
10 accepted political parties and 4 independent groups are contesting the UVA Provincial Council polls from the Badula district. 12 accepted political parties and 7 independent groups are contesting from the Monragla district. A total of 32 councillors will be elected from the 9 polling divisions in the Badula district and the 3 polling divisions in the Monragla district. 18 councillors will be elected from the Badula district while 14 will be elected from the Monragla district.
Our reporters at the Newsfirst UVA Election Bureau are touring various parts of the Badula and Monragla districts, looking into the last-minute preparations ahead of the polls. Sanduru Ferdinando joins us now from the Badula district.
Well, we are just a few hours away from the UVA Provincial Council election. Right now, I'm at Daban of Mahayangana, and as I mentioned earlier, Mahayangana is one of the 9 polling divisions of the Badula district. Well, talking about Daban indigenous community, they too will be casting their votes tomorrow at the UVA Provincial Council election. That's something which you're all looking forward for it. So Newsfirst will bring you the footage from it. So stay tuned with us as we bring the latest news as and when it happens.
We are prepared to look into the preparations in the Badula district for the UVA Provincial Council poll. Joining us is the District Returning Officer and District Secretary Rohana Kirti Disanaika. District Secretary, can you tell us how preparations are going ahead today?
Badula district චන්ද මධ්‍යස්ථාන 516ක හෙටද.
The election will be held at 516 polling stations in the Badula district tomorrow. Today, the ballot boxes, ballot papers, officers in charge and other election officials were deployed to the polling stations from the Badula Central College, Vihara Mahadevi College and the District Secretariat. They have already conducted rehearsals for tomorrow at the polling stations. We have supervised these activities via the zonal returning officers. All preparations have been made for the election.
Can you clarify the preparations for the counting of votes?
The ballot boxes will begin coming to the counting centres from the polling stations at 4 p.m. tomorrow. We are expecting the closest ballot boxes by 4:15 and ballot boxes from distant areas to get here by 7 p.m. The counting of postal votes will commence at 4 p.m. tomorrow at 13 locations. The counting of votes will commence at another 58 counting locations at 6 p.m. The counting of votes will take place at a total of 76 locations in the Badula Central College, Vihara Mahadevi College and at the District Secretariat. We are hoping to issue the first postal voting result by 8 p.m.
The Badula and Monragla district teams of the Newsfirst UVA Election Bureau are prepared with the coordination of the District Secretary to bring you all the news from the UVA Provincial Council poll.
942,730 people are registered to vote in the UVA Provincial Council polls. 609,966 people are registered to vote in the Badula district, while the Monragla district has 332,764 registered voters. Polling will take place at 318 polling stations in the Monaragala district tomorrow.
The distribution of ballot boxes in the Monaragala district commenced at the counting centre located at Royal College, Monaragala. Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya visited the counting centre today to observe the distribution of ballot boxes. There are no incidents. We wanted to pay a visit since polls are scheduled to take place in this area. That's about it. There is no need for a special inspection. All activities are taking place peacefully. Special police teams have been deployed to beef up security in the Monaragala town. The 30,489 voters in the Bibla administrative divisions will cast their ballot at 28 polling stations in the division tomorrow. 200 officers from headquarters police in Bibla were deployed to beef up security at the polling stations. Our reporter says that some of these officers will be utilized for patrolling 40 Gramanildaru divisions in the area. Ballot boxes were brought to the Vellassa National School in Bibla today. District Returning Officer Attorney Pillai commented on the preparations for tomorrow's election.
All the ballot boxes and ballot papers with regard to the Uva Provincial Council election in the Monaragala district reached the respective polling stations along with the respective officers appointed to those polling stations. We have received the support of the police. Assistant District Returning Officers have been appointed to monitor the election process.
First, Chaturanga Hapuarachi joins us via live Digi transmission from Monaragala.
I'm currently standing in front of the District Secretariat complex in Monaragala. Now the Newsfirst team has been travelling around the city of Monaragala from morning up until late this evening, and we've told you that a very high number of police and STF officials have been deployed ahead of the provincial council elections tomorrow. Speaking to Newsfirst earlier, the district returning officer stated that the ballot boxes that were issued this morning from the Royal College in Monaragala have reached their destination, they have reached their polling stations, and that everything is ready for the provincial council elections tomorrow. For the Newsfirst team, Chaturanga Hapuarachi reporting from Monaragala.
Now, the Elections Commissioner says that all preparations have been made for tomorrow's poll. Polling will take place at 832 polling stations from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow. Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya reiterated that voters will be requested to produce accepted identification at the polling station. The Elections Complaint Unit established at the Election Secretariat will remain in operation until 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. The Election Secretariat notes that complaints from the Badulla district can be made on the hotline 0112 877 620. That's 0112 877 620 for Badulla, while complaints from the Monaragala district will be received on the hotline 0112 877 622. The number once again 0112 877 622.
Meanwhile, speaking to Newsfirst, Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya expressed his views on tomorrow's poll.
Polling will commence at 7 a.m. on the 20th of September. Polling will close at 4 p.m. We wish to inform all voters to come to the polling station as early as possible. It is also compulsory to bring some form of accepted identification. The national identity card, driver's license, passport, senior citizen's identification card, identification issued for the clergy by the Department for the Registration of Persons, and the identification issued by the Elections Department are all considered to be valid forms of identification. Identification must be within the validity period and legible. Additionally, the photograph on the identification cannot be discolored. Application for identification such as Gramanildaru certificates will not be considered as valid identification.
Now, speaking to reporters in Colombo today, police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana said that steps have been taken to ensure security in the Uva province. SSP Rohana added that these security measures will remain in place for a week following the conclusion of the election.
සෑම ඡන්ද පොලකටම නිලධාරීන් 4 දෙනෙක් බැගින් යොදවලා තියෙනවා.
4 police officers have been assigned to each polling station. In addition to this, a female sub-inspector and a female police sergeant or a female police constable will be deployed to polling stations which have separate female polling booths. All police officers on election duty have been issued a T56 firearm and ammunition. Mobile patrols commence from 6 a.m. today and will continue until 2 days after the polls. We have also put in place 57 roadblocks. If anyone is found acting in a violent manner and violating election laws even after a week after the polls conclude, he will be arrested and will not be provided bail through the police. If a vehicle is seized by the police, that vehicle will be produced before court.
පුද්ගලයන් අත්අඩංගුවට ගතහොත් කිසිම අවස්ථාවක පොලිසිය මගින් අප ලබා දීමක් සිදු කෙරෙන්නේ නැහැ. යම් වාහනයක් පොලිසිය භාරයට ගතහොත් ඒ වාහනයත් අනිවාර්යෙන්ම අධිකරණයට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
strong measures to be taken by the police. Now, News First is prepared to bring you the results and the news from the Uva Provincial Council poll as and when it unfolds. Ramesh Bandara joins us from the First and Fast election desk with more. Ramesh, over to you.
Well, thank you, Nadim. Well, this is the News First newsroom. Most of our viewers might be familiar with this site, but the setup over here might be a bit different to what you see normally in the News First newsroom. Well, that's because we are preparing for the Uva Provincial Council elections 2014, which is scheduled to commence tomorrow. Now, a special nerve center was set up at the News First Center here to analyze the results that come in and the exit polls from the Uva Provincial Council 2014, which is scheduled to take place tomorrow. Sticking with our motto, First and Fast, we will of course be bringing you the results as we get it from the Election Secretariat before any other news provider. News First, of course, is your trusted news provider, and as in the previous elections, we will of course be bringing you the results first and fast. We earlier brought you details of the officials and the government officials getting ready for the Uva Provincial Council polls. Well, this is our preparation for the Uva Provincial Council polls. So join us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. as we begin our election broadcast coverage. Back to the newsroom.
Well, thank you, Ramesh. Now, moving on to other local stories. President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that external forces under the guise of democracy and other enticing slogans are seeking to interfere in the domestic affairs of other countries. He made this statement addressing the 8th General Assembly of the International Conference of Asian Political Parties, or ICAP, which commenced today in Colombo. The opening ceremony of ICAP took place at the Nelum Pokuna Mahinda Rajapaksa Theatre under the patronage of President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Approximately 300 representatives from different political parties and political associations throughout 33 countries in Asia are attending the high-level conference. Building an Asian community has been selected as the theme for the two-day conference. The 8th General Assembly of the International Conference of Asian Political Parties is jointly organized by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party. President Mahinda Rajapaksa addressed a distinguished gathering at the event.
The Asian region today has some of the world's developed and rapidly developing economies. We are in fact moving to the age of Asia. That is the focus of international attention and the envy of powers that are being left behind. Despite the differences we have among us in building an Asian community, we need to focus on revising and reinvesting in old friendships and building new networks of solidarity.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa will be appointed as the chairperson of ICAP for the next 2 years until its 9th General Assembly. The Colombo Declaration will be adopted and read at the closing session.
Train commuters were severely inconvenienced this morning owing to a malfunction in the railway signal system.
Even though train services are in operation at this time, passengers were severely inconvenienced owing to the malfunction in the railway signal system this morning.
The malfunction in the railway signal system caused the railway's centralized traffic control system to experience difficulties. Railway services were delayed as a result of this. Office commuters were severely inconvenienced as a result of the delay.
අපි මේ රස්සාවල වලට යන්නේ ඉතින් අපි ඇවිල්ලා හිටියේ දැන් ඉතින් අපිට ගියායින් පස්සේ මේ අපේ රෙට්ම ඔකේ එක වදින්නේ වෙලාව පවුනායින් පස්සේ
අද 7:11 ට්‍රේන් එක වෙලාවට ගිහිල්ලා ඊට පස්සේ ට්‍රේන් එක මේ ගම්පාරුණ එක පරක්කුයි ඒක තමයි එන්න තියෙන්නේ තාම ඒක නෑ මේ ස්ටේෂන් එකේ සාමාන්‍ය එක්ස්ප්‍රස් එක නවත්තන්නේ නෑ ස්ලෝ ට්‍රේන් එකක් තමයි එන්නේ ඒක එනකල් අපි මේ දැන් පැයකමාරක් අතර ඉතින් ඉන්නවා.
The main railway control room in Colombo directs train traffic along the train routes from Ratmalana to Mirigama. The control room utilizes a centralized traffic control system, and it is this system that was affected as a result of the malfunction in the railway signal system.
අද උදෑසන 5:55ට පමණ වර්ණ සංඥා පද්ධතියේ දෝෂයක් ඇති වුණා.
At around 5:55 am, a fault was reported in the colour light signalling system from Demutugoda to Palevala and Demutugoda to Nigambo, that is the main Chilau route. Railway services were affected along this route till 9:05 am.
The cause of the fault in the railway signal system was discovered after a preliminary investigation conducted by the Railways Department.
A person or a group has damaged the cable which is connected to the railway signal system. The system was not restored until 9:05 am.
The Newsfirst team went to the location where the railway signal system was damaged as mentioned by the Railway Department.
This is the Kalupalama in Orugodawatta. The damage that was reported had been caused at this location.
In case of a fault experienced in the railway signal system, the Department of Railways has a number of safety systems in place. If a failure is reported in the signal system, trains proceed cautiously under the supervision of the station master at the nearest railway station. Furthermore, if the railway signal system displays the color red, the train driver does not proceed beyond the signal. Apart from these alternative measures, the Railway Department states that the railway controllers, driver and the station masters are trained to adopt other methods in case of such a failure.
On to one of our headline stories. The chief suspect in the kidnapping, rape and murder of a girl in Janabalagama, Akmimana, died today.
The body of 8-year-old Pujaniya Shanti of Janabalagama Akmimana was discovered the day before yesterday in a tea plantation not far from her home. Police investigations revealed that the child had been raped and murdered. A 27-year-old man who was residing in a neighboring house was arrested in connection with the rape and murder. The police say that following preliminary interrogation, they had taken the suspect to the location where he said she had hidden the trousers he was wearing when he committed the crime. The police say that he had attempted to flee at this point. The suspect had jumped into the Madula waterway after pushing the police officers. The police sergeant and a constable had attempted to rescue him. However, they too were almost drowned and injured. Although the suspect was immediately taken to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital, upon admission it was reported that he was dead. The sergeant and constable who were injured in the incident have been hospitalized and are receiving treatment. The body of the deceased girl is currently lying at the residence of a family member in Pitadenia. The final rites are to be observed tomorrow.
Steps are being taken to confiscate assets worth 68.5 million rupees which belong to Kudu Lalitha, an underworld figure who was killed in police fire in Athurgiria recently. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajiturana noted that evidence is being collected for this purpose.
The police say that Lalitha Kaushale, alias Kudu Lalitha, was a third-tier member of the drug peddling racket in the country. The police say that Lalitha, who had 4 warrants against him when he was gunned down, was the owner of 3 luxury homes in Bomiria, Koratota and Thalangama and the owner of 2 luxury vehicles. The police added that property earned through illegal means can be confiscated by the state.
Up next is Action TV.
The Vice-Chancellor of the Sri Jawardhanapura University, who departed for Japan on the 2nd of September at the expense of the public, participated in an international research symposium in Nagoya, Japan on the 8th of September. Yesterday, Action TV carried out an expose on the research paper that was presented at this symposium by the Vice-Chancellor. According to the symposium agenda, the Vice-Chancellor had submitted the research paper using the name of the Sri Jawardhanapura University. He was not alone. The paper was a joint submission including another individual who supposedly represents the university. This individual can be identified by name as Ian Kanchana Karunaratne. Incidentally, Karunaratne is also one of the names of the Vice-Chancellor. Action TV's investigation revealed that there is no Ian Kanchana Karunaratne who is a lecturer, student or even a member of the non-academic staff at the Sri Jayawardhanapura University. Thereby, it is the responsibility and duty of the university administration and the Ministry of Higher Education to identify the Ian Kanchana Karunaratne who submitted a joint research paper under the name of Sri Jayawardhanapura University at the Nagoya International Symposium on Culture, Arts and Literature in Japan. Incidentally, the Vice-Chancellor's doctoral thesis does mention the name Ian Kanchana Karunaratne. The name is mentioned under the dedication section of the thesis. The black mark that was placed on the Sri Jayawardhanapura University on a prior occasion as a result of granting a false PhD to a German national has already caused irreversible harm to the university. The goal of the Ministry of Higher Education is to bring forth individuals who see beyond the horizon. When the Vice-Chancellor of the university puts forward an outsider and confirms him as a representative of the university before the international community, doesn't it make it evident that there are rogue paths to seeing beyond the horizon? Do the Vice-Chancellors have a mandate to spend public funds on such farces? Minister of Higher Education, this is over to you.
Big onion farmers in the Anuradhapura district are facing severe hardship as a result of a reduction in prices. They say that private traders are currently purchasing big onions at between 30 and 35 rupees a kilogram.
The reaping of the big onion harvest in areas including Galnawa, Megalawa, Thalawa, Thambuttegama, Nochiagama and Mahailukpalama has already commenced. Farmers who decided to cultivate big onions, notwithstanding the dry weather conditions experienced in the recent past, at present are facing a crisis as they are unable to sell their harvest for a proper price.
We received water only on 10 days. We managed to bring the crop up to this level because we pumped water out of the agrarian wells and waterways. We have incurred a massive loss. The time frame has passed and the bee onions must be harvested.
Traders only buy the crop for 30 to 35 rupees a kilo. At present, even the traders are not coming and the crop is piling up in our homes.
Farmers are stockpiling their onion crops in the hope that they will get a better price in the near future.
If we can sell it for at least 80 rupees, then we can have some respite. If not, considering our debt, our only resort will be suicide.
Meanwhile, big onions which were being sold at 70 to 80 rupees per kilogram at the Dambula Economic Centre only last week are only fetching between 50 and 55 rupees per kilogram at present.
Prices have fallen to 52 or 55 rupees a kilo. We expect that prices will decline further next week since there will be an increased supply in big onions.
Farmers have now been driven to selling their produce to private traders at low prices.
Since we have no storage facility, we sell it. We do not have a profit. We sell to cover some part of the cost. We cultivate by pawning off our gold.
Big onion farmers are facing such a fate against a backdrop where the government has introduced a certified price of 60 rupees per kilogram of big onions for this harvest season. The Ministry of Cooperatives and Internal Trade says that it has commenced purchasing big onions under the certified price in the Matale district. Farmers, however, have not shown much enthusiasm towards selling their produce at this centre established in the Dambula town.
Even though it is 60, selection is stringent. We have been driven to despair. Although they buy at 60 rupees, they only buy about 2,000 kilos a day. We bring about 4 to 5,000 kilos to the market every day.
Meanwhile, the waters of the Hatton Oya turned milky white today, much to the surprise of residents living on the banks of the Oya. The cause of the change in colour was later revealed to be the disposal of spoilt milk from an estate in close proximity to the Hatton Oya. Hatton Oya is a branch of the Mahavali River. People residing in close proximity to the area were unable to use the water of the Oya as a result of this incident and were severely inconvenienced.
There is milk mixed with the river water. When labourers work on this bridge, they can smell the stench of spoilt milk. They should think about the environmental damage that is caused by such actions. People work here.
The 55th commemoration of Kopai Komgan Wannisingam, a founding member of the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi, was marked today. The event was held at the Tirunelveli Women's Rural Development Hall.
ஓரிரு தினங்களுக்கு முன்னர் பாதுகாப்பு செயலாளர் திரு கோத்தாபய ராஜபக்ச அவர்கள் என்னை தாக்கி ஒரு செய்தி விட்டிருக்கின்றார்.
Several days ago, Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa expressed negative views about me. He said that since the Chief Minister of the Northern Province is creating problems with them, it has become difficult to take forward their development program for the Northern Province. He said that if the government's projects are designed to move ahead, the urban councils and the provincial councils all need to work together with the Urban Development Authority. His brother too arrived here and expressed a similar sentiment. I asked both of them this question. Money for the development did not arrive from Hambantota. When the two brothers arrived here, they did not bring funds from America. Those are foreign currency. We obtain monetary aid from foreign nations. We can spend that money to complete the projects. If the state institutions, provincial council officials and these two brothers do not give us anything, we will ask for funds directly. They have promised to give us funds. That is why we can have projects. That is why we can give them to you and work together.
We are now joined by our correspondent in London, UK, Kiara Wickramasinghe, with the latest.
People have spoken. Scotland has rejected independence, but it's not over, or as they say in British parlance, not by a long chalk. Political analysts in the UK say the fact that 1.5 million citizens voted to break away from the rest of the UK, and the fact that the Westminster establishment briefly thought this vote was lost, is the reason for that. The leaders of the three UK parties are now promising significant constitutional change, and not just for Scotland, but for England, Wales and Northern Ireland as well.
With 36 disciplines, 45 countries, 49 venues, 439 gold medals at stake, the 17th Asian Games kicked off with a grand opening ceremony in Incheon, South Korea, which saw a colorful combination of Asian culture, art and literature. The opening ceremony was held under the auspices of South Korean President Park Geun-hye.
The 17th Asian Games in Incheon 2014 commenced today at the Incheon Stadium with a massive crowd in attendance. A mammoth LED screen was in place at the venue so that the crowd did not miss any colorful detail of the ceremony, which highlighted the rich cultural heritage of South Korea. Commonwealth gold medalist weightlifter Chintana Geetal Vidhanage led the Sri Lankan contingent into the packed arena with the Lankan flag flying high.
Both winners and the defenders.
Subsequently, South Korean President Park Geun-hye declared the games open. This is incidentally the third occasion on which South Korea is hosting the Asian Games.
Can a start to 2 weeks of sport, peace.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Florine Rajendran.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Just a reminder, you can keep abreast of all the news we're following here at Newsfirst by visiting our award-winning website, Newsfirst.lk. You can also follow us on Twitter at Newsfirst_EN. Good night and good luck.